Oh, you caught me. I was just reading my new favorite series. I wish the author would hurry up and write the next book. Oh, I am loving this series. I am so loving this series. If you could please go check out my Romantic Times book review Flashback Monday videos, I'd appreciate it. Apparently nobody is watching them. I did one the other day and nobody, literally nobody watched it. 60 plus books reviewed, an hour and a half of weeks of gathering all the materials and the books and everything, and nobody has watched it. I don't know what is up with YouTube. I don't know if you've experienced this with YouTube or not, but I'll have my average view is about 10 people. So I'll have an view, nobody. View, nobody. View, nobody. It's really weird how that works out. Every couple of days, one of my videos just tanks. I mean, doesn't even get seen. There's billions of people out there. Someone has to see it somewhere. But anyways, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina KRISTINA. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects going on here of any sort. No special editing, no music, none of that fancy stuff going on here. And I would appreciate it if you would check out Flashback Mondays and If Then Fridays. Come here. If Then Fridays. I put an awful lot of work into those. I did one on Black authors that no one has seen. I did one on vampires that no one has seen. Some people watch the Witches one. No one has watched the Highlanders one either. And I did one on time travel. And I so enjoyed my own reference. I actually got a series from myself to read. And I have enjoyed this series to death. Murder in Time, Book 1. Oh, good God. Kendra is an FBI agent from 2015, and she was on this op that went wrong, and she ended up in the hospital, and she got it in her head that she was going to go on to get the bad guy for herself on a crusade to get the bad guy. And she goes through all of this stuff, and I wish I could. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop for her to go back, because Claire Beecham Randall Frazier went back and forth a couple of times. Bree and Roger go back and forth a couple of times. So I'm wondering if Kendra's going to go back and forth maybe once, at least once. But I would tell her if she was contemplating writing herself a letter. Yes, ma'am. My books are still sitting here. Contemplating writing herself a letter to try and warn herself. And I would, because she's getting along with these people and she's enjoying her life so much, I would write herself a letter saying, don't go through with plot A, but do pack yourself a suitcase of jeans, t-shirts, sneakers, Motrin, Tylenol, other ladies' products, because she's gonna need them where she's going. And not to go through with the other project. That's what I would write if she wanted to continue to stay in the 1800s. So she's been in the 1800s for a few books now. Like I said, we started out with A Murder in Time, and Twist in Time, and Caught in Time, and Betrayal in Time. And she's using her modern day detectiving to solve murders in 1816. And she is doing such a wonderful job, and the autopsy guy thinks she's great, and the Bow Street Runner thinks she's great. And I keep thinking that she ought to open up her own little thing, detective agency or something, like in Darcy Wilde's Useful Woman. So Kendra here is this FBI agent. She's stuck in 1816. She doesn't have access to cell phones, computers, forensics, uh, fingerprinting. None of that stuff has come out yet. No latex gloves. Every time she goes into an autopsy, she wants her latex gloves. She's teaching the doctors how to, use alcohol to disinfect their hands. And she's living with the Duke. That's a whole takes a couple of books. But when she had gone to the English castle as to enter the reenactment of a party in 1800. So she was dressed as a lady's maid. And when she got transferred to the 1800s and the Duke, one thing led to another, and she ended up as Rebecca's companion. They moved her out, and everybody's looking at her so strange. How she went from a maid to the lady's companion in like less than a month. So, and she helps solve a murder. The Duke thoroughly enjoys her investigation. He likes to join in on the investigations. Alec, his nephew, is in love with Kendra. Now, Kendra had, when she was in that op that failed, she got injured and they removed they removed some of her lady parts, and she's unsure. She just doesn't have access to modern medicine. Unsure if she's able to give children, and that's one of her concerns with marrying Alec is that he's supposed to produce an heir, and she may or may not be able to do that. She's unsure. And then I would like to remind Kendra that she's not in the 20th century, the 21st century anymore. There is no uh uh oh the umbilical cord thing. They stick it in your spine so you don't feel less you don't feel the pain during giving birth. I forget what that's called. But there's no drugs, there's no painkillers in this time period except Lodrum. So she might want to bring some of that with her too. So, anyways, she's enjoying her life with the Duke and Alec. She's getting to know Alec. He wants to marry her so badly. She keeps putting him off, but they've been sleeping together. They've been sleeping together on and off for 6 months, and she hasn't gotten pregnant yet. So, who knows what the author's going to do about that situation. But she hasn't found herself with child yet, so that's on a plus side, I guess, I think. Especially if she's going to be doing all this detectiving. But we start the book off with Kendra and Rebecca, the niece of the Duke, and they're at the zoo, I'm assuming, and they see this lady having a difficult event with a guy, and Kendra knows in society, in modern days, she's sitting there going, people would be taking out their cell phones and filming it and calling the cops and 911 and harassment and all this kind of other stuff. But they don't do all that. And when the gentleman leaves, Kendra and Rebecca kind of interrupted a little bit. Then when Miss Gavinston discovers who Kendra is, she decides to hire Kendra to her business manager, Jimmy Pasco, has disappeared, and she would like Kendra to find him. So Kendra sets off to find him, and she spends a couple of days searching for him and finds him deceased in a cabin, a little cottage on a big estate that's been abandoned. But it turns out Jeremy was a poet, and he used it as his little retreat for writing poetry and other stuff. And in the meantime, we've also got a second incident going on. This woman shows up on the Duke's doorstep proclaiming to be his daughter. His wife and daughter perished in a boat accident, and the bodies were not found. So this girl comes in knowing stuff about his daughter that no one else supposedly knows. And Kendra says, they could have learned it from servants back when, or talked to the neighborhood, or gotten it through local gossip, or, there's a million different things you know, that ways they could have found out. So Kendra immediately 100% believes this girl is phony, but the Duke decides to pawn her off as a very, very distant relations person from Spain, um, getting her clothing, feeding her, storing her in the house, um, doing all these kind of stuff for this chick when they still don't know who she really is. But while this is all going on and it's killing Kendra to do this, she moves on with the investigation with Jeremy, and she leaves Carlotta, aka Charlotte, with the Duke, and the Duke entertains her. So she has a story there, and Kendra is sitting there going, "Wouldn't I give for some DNA testing right now?" And I was thinking during this juncture that if Kendra has this high enough IQ and had access to microscopes, which I think they do, she might have been able to at least do a blood typing. I think that's a really thing you can do with certain chemicals or certain under the microscope or something. I believe there's something you can do with that, even in premise. I really don't remember, but I was hoping that Kendra would bring that up, but she doesn't. So, like I said, Kendra totally believes she's a con artist. She's out to scam him. She's out to steal stuff. They find Mr. Poe dead, Mr. Pascoe dead. The constable shows up. Everybody's always surprised by Kendra's behavior and how she acts and how she diagnoses the crime scene, how the victim knew his attacker, wasn't offended or surprised. The attacker got really close because the attacker just picked up the knife off the table and stabbed him before they knew what was happening. It was a crime of passion. The constable comes in. He's a little surprised. They tell him they're going to send for Dr. Monroe and Sam Kelly, the Bow Street runner, for the investigation. And they want to know why they're sending for this doctor. And they're like, well, he does really good autopsies. We've worked with him in the past. So they're going to do all that. They talk to the workers. They investigate the town. My cat just cut me off. So they investigate the town. They investigate the workers. Apparently, this woman that asked her to investigate, I did it again. Her missing manager. She owns a brewery. I have trouble saying that. She owns a brewery, and apparently it's been handed down from first daughter to first daughter to first daughter to first daughter. And a lot of the men in the family think that they are the ones that should be in charge. But the current Miss Gavetson doesn't feel that way. She feels that her daughter is perfectly capable of running the brewery. There is also a competitor in town. Kendra finds out later on. He's been, it's mentioned in the book. He buys smaller companies and merges them into his company. Mergers, he does mergers and stuff like that. It's all, the terms are in the book. So he's been buying up small companies all over the place. And then it's, I wanted to read this little part. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I wanted to read, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So they're interviewing all the people, and she's even interviewing some of any of Pascoe's friends and stuff like that. And they're talking to some witnesses and stuff like that. And Sam Kelly says, "Victimology," Sam said. "That's what Miss Donovan calls it. Says by studying the victim you can figure out the killer." Muldoon cocked his head to the side. He is the newspaper reporter, Muldoon, and Sam is the Bow Street runner. And they're having a conversation about Kendra. And I love this stuff. She's an original, isn't she? What do you know about Miss Donovan? Truly no. Sam narrowed his eyes at the reporter. He'd come to have great affection for the American and wasn't about to put up with anyone disparaging her. What are you getting at? I meant no offense, Muldoon said. I've just never met anyone like her. You have to admit she's a strange one.
Oh, you're not giving any offense at all, some muttered. Lady Rebecca is as fiery, independent, and intelligent as Miss Donovan, but she has a sense of what's proper. Most ladies would not attend an inquest. His Grace only had to send word, and no one would have thought her absence cold. She attends autopsies. Why would she not attend an inquest? Exactly. Muldoon jabbed a finger at him. I'm saying she's a strange creature, strange in a good way, if you take my meaning different. Sam had the same thoughts but never would admit them. Now he shrugged. She's an American. They set great store in liberty. They started a whole war over that notion. I've heard tales of females dressing as men so they could fight us when they started their war of independence. I haven't been to America, but it sounds like the women folk there are a fearsome lot. If those tales are true, as fearsome as the Scottish lasses. It's not difficult to envision Miss Donovan doing such a thing, but I feel like there's something more. There's a story with Miss Donovan. I can feel it in my bones. And there is. There is. So they're investigating the town. It's learned that this other guy, Mr. Fletcher, who I said was buying up the smaller businesses, had approached Jeremy to, he wanted the brewery's recipes, and he told them no. We have a little more incident with Carlotta. We have a few more social visits with her. There's also someone attempts to shoot. Now, the first time Kendra uses modern technology, well, not, but modern technology, but she got a stick and they put it in the hole that the bullet came through, and she traces the trajectory, and she realized that the killer missed on purpose, and they assume it was meant to scare her off the case. And while she is investigating the case, she talks to a local seamstress in the town where Mr. Pascoe lived, and she discovers a seamstress, and they end up talking about Lady Atwood. I've mentioned previously that Lady Atwood insists on Kendra attending certain balls and parties and getting all dressed up and fancied up. And apparently there's a masked ball coming up, and Kendra had thought she was dying to get in pair pants again, and she goes, well, I will go as General George Washington, yay! And they're like, no, she needs to pick up a different person. So she's like, well, how about a coachman? So she gets a coachman. I'm sitting in a nice suit jacket, nice lapels, white shirt, buttoned down, pair of black slacks, some nice, good, sturdy shoes. That would be good. Kendra discovers a secret about Miss Gaveston that changes the case significantly, throws light on a couple of issues. I did. I'm trying to see if I can find it now. But there's also a cute. Well, let me do this first. Let me see if I can see what this page is about. But you know, when I do these books, I have to share. So we've got Kendra trying to find. Well, she was trying to find the missing Jeremy Pascoe, but then, of course, she discovers him dead. And now she's trying to discover his murderer. And she's turning up all this information about Miss Gaveston. And I, every once in a while she says something. So she's talking to Alex. And from their description of Miss White, I'd say that Mr. Mercer, the youngest, ended up with the better deal, marrying the former Miss Gaveston, even if his family cut him off. I was told that the younger Mr. Mercer often comes to town to partake in its amusements. What exactly are those? The same sort young men are drawn to: boxing, swordplay, and occasional opera dancer. The occasional opera dancer? You make it sound like he indulges in that like an order of fries at McDonald's drive-through window. Just think, Kendra will never have McDonald's again. Oh, good God. Some Chinese food, a pizza. Good Lord, could you teach the English how to make a pizza? Get some dough. Send over to Italy for some tomato sauce. Yeah, do that. Get some tomatoes too. And some mozzarella and get a couple of steaks while you're at it. What, pray tell, are these fries, and why would anyone drive through a window, especially a Scotsman? Fried potato slices that actually originated in Belgium. And in America, my America, time is precious. So we don't want to get out of our horseless carriages, wait in line to pick up food, which I know doesn't save that much time. She squeezed his arm, and none of that matters right now. It just cracked me up. I love these little inserts of Kendra's knowledge of the future. So we're investigating all this. During this, and I'm good. This is going to be a little bit of an extended read because it hit me. It hit me almost immediately, and you just have to go with the flow. It's not technically a spoiler because it has nothing really to do with the case, but I just had to share this. This was awesome. I'm like, I wanted to start. I was gonna, before the character says anything, I was gonna start Googling this. When was so and so born? I wanted to know. I didn't think he was born so early. But Kendra gets kidnapped and she escapes her kidnappers, and you can read about all of that. But uh, she runs into this kid in the cemetery. So she hides this kid in a mausoleum tomb while she goes fights off the she doesn't lock the door or anything like that. She like leaves it with so much open. And she says, "Stay here, and if I don't return in an hour, then go home." So the kid stays here. And Edgar, Kendra let go of the shovel. Now that danger had passed, her knee was throbbing. She began to limp up the hill to the mausoleum. "Now where are you off to, miss?" She ignored him, throwing open the mausoleum door. The darkness was impenetrable. "Edgar!" The watchman followed, stretching out his hand with the lanterns just as the boy came forward. Edgar blinked into the light. "Master Allen," the watchman tutted in an octave way, "you've caused plenty of mayhem tonight, haven't you?" Kendra wondered if she should thank the boy after all. If he hadn't snuck off to the cemetery on a dare, his parents wouldn't have called the watch, and she'd be still dealing with a very pissed off weasel face. The boy looked at her. "You got the villains?" "One, the other got away." "Let's go," the watchman said, shooing them down the hill. The moon reappeared, making their journey easier. "Seems a waste of time to haul him out of here, don't you think?" The boy kept walking, skirting tombstones and grave markers. "Do you know this cemetery was named St. Michael? I saw the name at the entrance." "Michael wasn't a saint, he was an archangel," the boy said. "You're supposed to pray for him for protection from your most lethal enemies." "Did you pray to him?" The boy nodded slowly. "Then I guess it worked. Thank you." "Edgar," a woman calls him, and they have some more documentation, discussion, I mean. And Alex shows up and the Duke shows up, and she goes, uh, "Mr. Allen and I are grateful to you for keeping Edgar safe." Kendra decided not to point out that Edgar's nocturnal adventure would have probably been harmless. She was the one who had led the criminals into the cemetery. "Edgar was very brave," she said. The boy smiled. Well, thank you," Mr. Allen said gruffly. He had a faint Scottish accent. He frowned at his son. "And you, young man, I'll have to figure out a suitable punishment for you this night." Kendra smiled and started to turn away, but she paused to look back at the boy, transfixed by the small face, the intelligent eyes studying her. "Wait! Edgar Allan Poe!" Don't be too severe with Master Allen, the Duke added to the boy's father. All boys need a great adventure once in a while. Ah, yes, well, good evening, Your Grace, Miss Donovan, sir. Take care of yourself, Edgar, she managed to say. Mr. Allen clamped a hand down on Edgar's narrow shoulder and pushed him toward the carriage. Edgar couldn't Kendra couldn't seem to tear her gaze away from this small figure as this foster parent, the Allen she knew, never adopted their foster son, led them to the carriage. Edgar looked back at her over his shoulder, his gaze intense, and they climbed into the carriage. The coachman shut the door and clambered into his perch, then set the horses trotting. Kendra watched until the vehicle disappeared around the corner. Holy crap! What's wrong? It took a few minutes for Alex's words to penetrate. Nothing. I just met Edgar Allan Poe when he was a child. The Bow Street runner frowned, his eyes golden, as he looked at her. It would appear that someone is getting even more nervous. They're no longer content with just a warning last. They want you dead. Where is it? Oh, I know she says. Uh, I know she says it. Uh, Who was the boy? The Duke spoke up, his gaze on Kendra. I saw the way you looked at him. He means something to you. You could say that, she replied. I think I've read everything he's written. He's a literary genius. The Duke's eyebrow went up. Fascinating. Is he, or rather will one day be a writer? A writer and a poet. In my time, he's considered the father of the detective genre and one of the pioneers of science fiction. Edgar Allan Poe will probably become best known for transforming the horror genre. She caught her breath caught in her throat. One of his literary themes was being buried alive, and I just pushed him in a mausoleum. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. So once we figure out the who done it for Jeremy, and it's a couple of twists and turns till you get there. Um, Kendra being a man at the mass ball is awesome. I enjoyed that immensely. And then we've got to figure out what Carlotta, aka Charlotte's, real story is. So I hope that you will check out all my other videos, my Star Trek recaps on Friday, my If Then Friday afternoons. Please, somebody watch those. I did Black Authors, I did Harlequin, I did the Bridgertons, I did vampires, I did werewolves, I did Highlanders. No one has watched the Highlanders either. And my daily book reviews. We are doing James Patterson's Alex Cross series. We are doing Victoria Thompson's Gaslight series, and we are doing J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood. And I'm almost finished with my Time series. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 books thus far. Please look for the video on this one in a couple of days. And after I read this one, I will have to wait until the next year for the next one. So I hope it works out. Please don't forget to check out Flashback Mondays. The last one I did, no one saw. Literally nobody saw it. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube. So if you could please check all those out. I do 10 videos a week plus the shorts. So that's like 17, 18 videos a week. I'm trying my best here. Maybe I'll need to do a couple of Big Brothers. Got me some Power Veto. Have a good one.